continue our trip through the history of the Bible with visits to various sites throughout Europe to show how the Bible became the focus of a radical rethinking of faith, society, and technology. After the collapse of the Western Roman Empire, the Bible went on a wild ride through the Middle Ages to the Renaissance. During this time, there was a growing demand for access to the Christian Bible in local languages. The next chapter in the history of the Bible takes us from Rome to Germany. I do love Germany. Gorgeous scenery, impeccably engineered cars like the vintage Mercedes-Benz I'm in, and world-class museums. The Gutenberg Museum in Mainz, Germany was my first stop. Prior to printing, each Bible had to be copied by hand, one at a time. The impact of Gutenberg's printing press upon the Bible emerged quickly. By the beginning of the 16th century, approximately 100,000 Bibles were in print. Some scholars have said that the printing press impacted the world more than any single event in the last 1,000 years. As Gutenberg's invention spread to Italy in the late 1400s, Jews came to the country from Spain and Portugal, increasing the demand for Hebrew printed books. Italian printers such as Daniel Bomberg were among the first to print the Hebrew Bible and the Talmud in the Hebrew language. Bomberg's impact on Hebrew printing was so significant that some of his innovations and layouts are still used today. Despite some persecution and controversy, and using the work of scholars like Erasmus, reformers such as Luther and Tyndale pushed ahead with translations of the Christian Bible into the local languages of the common people. Erasmus was born in Holland in the late 1460s. He was educated in a monastery, ordained a priest, and later became one of the foremost humanist scholars of the Renaissance. In 1512, Erasmus, unhappy with the quality of the Vulgate, began to work on a new translation of the New Testament, from Greek into Latin. In 1516, Erasmus published his first New Testament with parallel Greek and Latin texts. Because the first edition was rushed for a publisher, it contained a number of errors, making later editions necessary. Erasmus's second edition from 1519 became the basis for Luther's German translation of the New Testament. And Erasmus's third edition from 1522 became the basis for Tyndale's translation of the first printed English New Testament. From his role in the Protestant Reformation and his 95 Theses that it is said he nailed to the church door here in Wittenberg. It was these activities that got him excommunicated from the church. After leaving his hearing with the emperor at the Diet of Worms, Luther was kidnapped by horsemen. But it was a setup. A wealthy supporter, Frederick III, intercepted Luther and delivered him to the safety of Wartburg Castle, here at Eisenach. Within a year of protective custody here at Wartburg Castle, Luther performed the extraordinary feat of translating the New Testament from Erasmus's Greek into German, in this very room. By 1534, Luther and his associates completed the translation of the Old Testament from Hebrew into German and published the entire Luther Bible. Luther's version quickly became popular and influential, contributing to the development of the German language and literature. It also influenced other common language translations, such as Tyndale's English Bible. William Tyndale was an English scholar and a contemporary of Luther. He studied at Oxford and Cambridge during the 16th century. Tyndale was a gifted linguist, fluent in 7 languages, including Latin, Hebrew, and Greek. In 1523, Tyndale traveled to London seeking permission from the bishop to translate Erasmus's Greek New Testament into English. But Tyndale was denied permission and moved to Germany, where he continued his work and completed the English New Testament in 1526. Soon, Tyndale's New Testament was smuggled into England and became very popular. Tyndale set the linguistic style for English New Testament translations for centuries to come. There was a studied simplicity to his language, which was designed to make the New Testament accessible to the common person. However, English authorities, including Thomas More, condemned Tyndale's translation on the basis of that same popular language. Eventually, Tyndale was tried for heresy related to his religious beliefs. He was condemned to die by strangulation and burning at the stake in 1536.